All right, so we're here with candidate for District 3, Jim Brown. How you doing, sir?
Fine, thank you, Terry.
Good. Welcome. We're happy to have you on the show.
So this isn't the guitar-playing singer and dude, is it?
No. Not that James Brown. See, you're always getting confused with somebody.
Yeah, and then when I go at gym, I'm the football star in the gym.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so.
Yes.
Must be nice to have such a famous name.
Well, the other thing is I'm actually the third. So
Oh, wow. So
James
there's a
Brown
lot
the
of you out
third.
there. Well, why don't you start off by giving everybody a review of who you are
Okay.
and where you've been and what you're up to now and why you're running for supervisor.
Sure. Okay, well, basically, I'm a 61-year-old Native American, born and raised here in this county. I was born at Lakeside Hospital, which a lot of people don't even know anymore. It's still here. So pretty much all my life, I've lived here. I actually have, my wife and I, Gail, have been married for 40 years. And we have 4 children, adult children. Basically, they all grew up here, went to school. We have 11 grandchildren. 7 of those grandchildren are attending the public schools here in our district. I'm a member of my siblings. I have 6 older siblings. I'm the youngest in my family. We all live on the LCM reservation. And I'm really proud of the fact that I've come from a resilient family that over the years have faced a lot of racism and apathy by not only county, the federal agencies, but the public. And I'm very proud that I was raised in the matriarch system where pretty much the females were in charge. And they really learned and gave us a better responsibility to work in our community. And matter of fact, my mom's number one thing to me all the time is men are rebels without a cause until they find a good woman or a good partner.
I can substantiate that, absolutely.
Then they stay rebels. They just have a cause.
Right. There you go. And so anyway, a good example is in this county, I've spent most of my livelihood by creating my own jobs. A good example is in 1975, I came home, basically, I was living in Santa Rosa working for another Indian organization, and I began the job as a tribal administrator here for my tribe. We were actually the first tribe to ever open a tribal office. And so we're talking about 1974 when we started. So basically what my job was to do was to go and find the Federal Register, I might be familiar with that. And so, in other words, putting the responsibility back on the federal government for the issues of the Indian tribe. And I'll tell you, it's been a long journey, frustrating journey as well. But once you get involved in government, you start to understand the dynamics. I mean, the biggest problem I've always seen in government, and I still hear that today in our county, is about 80% of the monies and funds we get go to administration. And by the time you get something to do for the public, it's 20%, And so the public has to complain, what are you doing for me? Other than drawing a salary and getting good benefits. So to me, that's kind of what I was raised in, is that community. Matter of fact, we had to fight for even, our minimum wage to be put on the Indian reservations. So what I think I learned from is the tyranny of the federal government and that citizens have to take responsibility. And what I kept saying was, the federal government especially is in charge. There are so-called trustees of the tribe. Why aren't they providing these for the tribe? So it took me over 30 years to actually get involved. So what I did was I wrote federal grants and contracts. Mm-hmm. I'm very proud of the fact, I think one of the best really responsible things I was able to help. I was actually a co-founder of the Lake County Tribal Health Consortium back in 1981. What happened was there was always imparities when it came to health care for Native American people here. And so I knew Indian tribes, if they united together, could go after Indian Health Service federal dollars. So what basically at the time, there was only 4 federally recognized Indian tribes in this county. And that was the Middletown, Rancheria, LCM, Robeson, and Upper Lake. So basically what I did was went out and presented the law, which is Public Law 94-437, the Indian Health Care Improvement Act, to them. And I said, look, under this law, the federal government has a responsibility to provide health care services for us, or we provide them for ourselves. So basically, I got a resolution from both, actually all four of the tribes, and I went forward with that, and I pushed it to the federal government. I also had to participate in congressional testimony, where we came in and testified of the lack of health care in our county and in our state for Native people. Now, again, see, a lot of people don't realize that when the treaties that in California were not ratified, the federal government started to provide services to the tribes. We lost all our land base, but they were responsible that they had to provide economic development opportunities, educational opportunities, health care, all of this environmental to us. But no tribes knew about it. So it's almost like if you don't know, the right places to go after the funding, you don't know how to address the issue.
Well, that's typical throughout our governments.
Yes.
Yeah.
So anyway, what we basically did was we formed a group, and we created the first 100% controlled Indian tribal healthcare facility for this county. Right now, we have 7 tribes because at the time, the 2 other tribes, Big Valley and Scotts Valley, were what they called not federally recognized. So they couldn't participate. So once they got their federal recognition back, they automatically came on the board. So to me, I see that unity, and right now a lot of the Indian tribes in this area are small land-based tribes. I really think that we still can unite the tribes here, and not only that, help this county. We need to be fair and equal partners in this county. We have not been allowed that to really be partners with this county. Unfortunately, most of my experience with the Board of Supervisors is they've always seemed, anytime there was an issue with Native Americans, addressing their rights, addressing the law, they basically went against it. So to me, unfortunately, I like all the candidates. I've just met some of them all, and I'm saying, look at District 3 is so huge. We should have all these ideas. As a matter of fact, what I'm looking at is forming little community-based groups to work in each of the townships. And that's the only way, to me, that you can keep in touch with the public and your constituents. Because remember, the Board of Supervisors work for the people.
I agree with you.
That's what it says. So to me, why are we sitting in our offices up here that you have to be frisked before you can go in and see the Board of Supervisors, your representative?
Right. Well, first of all, you have to catch them if they're even in their offices.
Yes. Okay.
If you listen to their weekly calendars, they're not there very often.
Right. So I really believe that we need to, again, this is, I think, a perfect time to bring in a change in our Board of Supervisors. I know a lot of people might think, oh, well, you want to be elected just because you're a Native American. But what I'm talking about is that we've never been allowed in to this government here. And we've never been allowed to participate. We've always been treated like second-class citizens. So then you have that attitude of second-class citizens, that why should I go? They're not going to do anything for me. And I really believe that not only on the economic side, but the social side, I've been directly involved all my life here. So a good example, what I tell people is, again, a thing one of my aunts taught me, I point the finger at you. Well, I can point the finger at you and criticize you, but I got 3 pointing back at me.
Thank you.
And so I need to understand who you are. I need to understand both of the issues before I point my finger at you. And that was one of the little basic things that I was taught. Also, at the same time, that, again, leaders aren't people that are there for 20 and 30 years. Leaders don't create followers, they create more leaders. And that's what we need. I think our biggest asset right in this county are the individual citizens. And most of them are just played off by the Board of Supervisors, like, hey, I don't care for you, I don't like you, so don't come before me. And to me, that's our job. To me, the job of a Board of Supervisor is to champion the issues for the people, not their own self-interest. So a good example, I'm not taking any money. I'm probably the poorest one in this race. I don't even have a sign-up yet. And we're basically painting those ourselves. And, we're going to get some up when we can. And hopefully this week we'll be doing that.
You have a lot of grassroots support, though.
Yes, I do.
A lot of people calling your name around the world.
Yes, and that's what has really motivated me more. A good example, you had mentioned why I got into the race. I was talking about it a long time. most of my non-Indian friends were the ones who encouraged me and said, Jim, we need a change. We need somebody who has a different perspective here. And we think you represent that. So again, I don't take the Indian tribes for granted that they're automatically going to be on my side, because we have a lot of issues in our Indian community. And we need to address those. But what I've found is that once we work together, I mean, to me, let's say a good example is this tax people are talking about, the on Measure L.
Yes.
I mean, to me, where is the state of California's share, which they own this lake? Where is Yolo County's share, who draws most of our water? Where is the federal government? Now, a good example, I didn't see on Measure L where the Indian tribes are being taxed. Now, of course, they can't tax federal reservation lands. But if the tribes were a part of this and felt like we would cooperate, we would go after federal funds to help with this. So see, that's what I'm saying is I see millions of dollars in federal funds that could come to the tribes that can help this county as well. But we're not being invited in. Right now, everyone looks at casinos like that's our only business. But whether people like it or not, and again, we talk about how much money the marijuana brings in, how much money the wine industry brings in. But how come no one has statistics on the casinos? Right now, 80% of all the employees from these casinos are non-Indian people, are from Lake County. We're probably, if united all the casinos together, we're one of the highest employers of people from Lake County. So again, we should be brought into this system. And right now, it's almost we're pushed out. So I think that's what I represent as a positive change, that all the stakeholders from this lake, voices are heard and we're invited in. And I think we have a lot of good examples out there. So to me, it's funny, I've been unemployed, for almost 2 years now. And I'm having a great time at home watching my grandkids, and it's so great a time to be with them. But at the same time, I realized, we have to bring these issues forward, and we have to present them to the Board of Supervisors and the public. And I think the more and more that I talk to people, and it's like you're saying, the grassroots people, here's one thing I want to mention. The first debate I did at the Running Creek Casino, I caught the bus. Because we're a one-car family. And I asked if any of the other Board of Supervisors who are candidates caught it. Well, they don't know anything about riding the bus. So I think that's one of the advantages that I have. Now, a good example, I work for this county. I was a juvenile hall counselor that worked in the juvenile home. I was also appointed by Judge Golden, one of the old judges of this county, as the first Native American to be on the Juvenile Justice Commission. So, again, I felt that I've been proactive every time we had an opportunity. But once the project was over, it was like, okay, we're through with you guys, go back to where you were. So to me, and another example is, I keep bringing up Kanaka Harbor Inn. Basically the county lost 300 to 400 jobs there. And this Board of Supervisors actually passed a resolution that no Indian tribe would own that property. Now, if that's not racist, what is? I mean, losing those kind of jobs just because you don't want an Indian tribe to take over that facility. So those are the kind of issues that I've dealt with all my life here. But what we were taught was, don't let that stop you. Continue. And that's why the Indian tribes almost continued on as a second class of citizen and a second group of our own little tribal governments and activities. And to me, we need to unite our communities together. Right. And I think this would be one possible way of doing that. Again, I've had a lot of experience. A good example, I sat on the Bureau of Indian Affairs advisory board for our the budget of the Department of Interior. Now, we're talking about trillions of dollars. and I was a little overwhelmed when I got to Washington, D.C. and was a part of that process, but I started to understand it. Again, I think there's a lot of practical things we could do. Most importantly, we need to bring the public back in and show the respect for our citizens and allow them to come in and be a part of this governance.
Yeah, let me ask you a question here then.
Yeah.
And I agree with you that the community needs to be part of the whole process, and sometimes the perception is we're not involved. So if you were elected, what would be your game plan to actually have a continuous communication with your district and other people in the other districts. So how would you go? Would you use technology? Would you go town hall meetings? What would be your...
Well, I think we need both. Matter of fact, one of the things that I was saying that I would like to do, and I hope all supervisors would think about this, is commit 100 hours of community services to their district. And, so we should be in the community, helping with the cleanups, helping with the homeless issues, all these things, instead of sitting in our chair looking down upon everyone. So I'm proactive in that way. So like I said, I would like, matter of fact, I'm ready. I don't want to come up with here is my plan, join me. This plan has to come from the communities. I can go there and say, here's what I'm looking at. Now, to me, from a Native American perspective, all our tribal villages were in specific locations in our watersheds. We basically were responsible. Most of our tribal names originally came from that watershed or the creeks that were there. Many of our villages had those names because we were the responsible stewards of that land base or that water right or that. And that's, to me, what I would like to bring back. I think, like, for example, Upper Lake, Lucerne, they should all have their little community groups where the supervisors can meet with them annually. And we should also have, a phone available where, give me a call, whether you're for this measure or you're against it. How would you like to vote?
Speaking of that, there's a caller if you'd like to take.
Oh, sure. Fine.
Okay. Hello, caller. You're on the air. Hopefully we didn't lose you. No, we must have lost
Call
them.
back,
They were on
please.
for a while.
Okay.
So we will open the phone lines at this point, folks, so call in.
Okay, so again, I think a lot of one of the few concerns I've had from people expressed to me is they wish I had a college degree, and my thing is, well, when I looked at that job description for the Board of Supervisors, it basically said all you had to be was a resident of this county for 30 days, live in your district for that long, and you didn't have a felony. Well, hey, I qualified, and actually I've lived in here all my life, so I don't know how much more that qualifies me. But again, I've known the community. A good example, I've spent a lot of my time volunteering for youth and children's services and sports. So I've coached one of the biggest at the Oak Hill Middle School. I've done a lot of other services like that. So it was really, to me, I know the community. As a matter of fact, I still referee and I still go to the games and help umpire.
All right. And
all
we're
of
going to
that.
get you on our baseball team.
Yeah. So it's really, to me, I just enjoy helping young children.
Excellent.
And our job was always to mentor our children. A good example, as far as I know, a matter of fact, I think Clayton is doing this now, but I'm one of the few that still goes to the local grammar schools and high schools and do cross-cultural learning for the kids.
Excellent.
And share the culture. I talk about the history. I've done that at Yuba as well.
Oh, that's great.
And so that's how proactive I've been.
Excellent.
The last thing I just wanted to mention was I was also appointed to the Lake County Heritage Commission. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if people have heard much about that, but it's now a defunct commission.
Really?
It's the same issue again with our Board of Supervisors. What we basically did was we hijacked an ordinance from Napa County dealing with our heritage, and it sat on the shelf for so many years. Finally, a commission got appointed by the Board of Supervisors by district. So we came together and we said, hey, this is finally a process where we can address our prehistoric and historic cultural issues here. So we basically start writing that where they would need to comply with CEQA as well. And every time we tried to present it to our Board of Supervisors, Rick Coel and his Community Development Department would not allow us to even take it in to show them it.
So this probably would be a project you would
Yes. So
yeah.
not only, so what happened was I was appointed in 2009 and I went to 2010, and I didn't follow up with my appointment because I knew that I would have to file a lawsuit, the Friends of Rattlesnake Island, against the county, and I felt that was a conflict, me being on the Heritage Commission, so I did not go for the second term.
I see.
But also, what was crazy, the only reason I was appointed was I was appointed by Jeff Smith because my tribe was actually moved twice out of our district.
Wow.
Now, I still never got an answer from any of the Board of Supervisors. How is that done without notification to the members that live there?
Well, redistricting happens from a state level. I don't think the county has the authority to do the redistricting. I think it's handled through the state election board.
Right.
So, and it's based on population, and that's why this last election, I think in 2010, they redistricted, and they didn't really tell people that it had been done. So a lot of people were disenfranchised and didn't get to vote because their polling places were not available.
Right. I had to come to Lakeport to vote.
Yeah,
and that's what I
exactly.
did.
And that's
Yeah.
ridiculous. So there was some issues with that, definitely.
So just to let you know, too, I've been voting since I've been 21 years old because
Awesome.
my father pretty much said, this is your right. If you're going to call yourself a citizen, you
Very
better
good.
vote.
Very good.
The only difference was in 2003, I changed my parties from Democrat to the Green Party. And I was just so upset with basically our congressional representatives and
And are
getting
you
involved
still
in the
Green
illegal
Party?
Iraq war.
Are you still Green Party?
Yes, I am.
So are we. So we're all in the same boat. I agree with
Yeah.
you. That's why I went there.
And
Okay,
also
let's get
again-
on the phones because we got two
Oh, sure,
callers.
sure.
Hello, you're on the air.
Yes, good morning, everybody. Mr. Brown.
Good morning.
I listen to you carefully every time I hear you on the radio, and I always have very mixed feelings. One thing which strikes me the most is that everything you seem to say, most of it at least, is based on negative approach, that there is some kind of a complaint. I don't understand why, number one, as far as I can think, the only Indians who ever existed came here with Columbus. Because other than that, they were simply nations. It was a whole continent of different people, different stages of technological development, social orders, etc. But you seem to suggest that there is a united front of the, again, even native is not a proper expression in my book, because nativity is about birth. So there were people born here for hundreds of years now and elsewhere in the world, and people move all the time. And of course, unfortunately, that's the issue I would say we should address, is why these moves and these movements of nations is typically accompanied by violence. That's one thing. But that goes for everybody in this world, everybody human.
Right.
So I have a problem with this political division, which seems to be actually perpetuated on purpose between the so-called natives and non-natives, specifically in your vocabulary, the Indian front. That's one thing which I think is to be limited to a great extent.
Thank you. We're going to let you take the response off the air, if that's okay. Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Yeah, again, that's a good example right there of the Eurocentric view of Native people, and that's what I've fought all my life, because so many people think that, oh no, this doesn't whether we like it or not, all of us face traumas. Those traumas, are intergenerational. And that's what I've seen in our Native community. Most of the time, we never called everyone in different. We basically called everyone humans.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
that's what we were.
And
the
that's
ones.
what we
I mean,
are.
we didn't call ourselves Indians. It was these foreigners who tagged us with that name, who thought they were looking
And it
for
was a
Indians.
misnomer, yeah.
Yes.
I want to add my 2 cents on this, and I don't know if maybe I took his comments or questions out of context or different than you did. I got the feeling he was trying to imply some negativity in your commentary, be it on your normal show that I listen to all the time in the office while I'm working, and other things we've heard around the community.
Yeah.
And I think there's a difference, and this is my opinion, and I want to hear your opinion, is being negative versus addressing issues that are pertinent to your community, your heritage, whatever the case may be. There's a difference between being negative, and then addressing the issues. I think the caller was saying you come across very negative all the time in regards to your concerns over the issues towards Caucasians and possibly other races. And at times, I get the same feeling on the radio when I listen to you. And then I realize your heritage and the concerns and the issues you've gone through, and it makes sense to me. So, can you respond to that at all?
Well, I don't know if it'll completely answer it.
No.
But again, let me just give the Sulphur Bank mercury mine as an example. Okay, why hasn't one board of supervisor even mentioned that issue?
Yeah.
Okay, a good example.
I
to
agree
me,
with you on that.
Nobody would have done anything about the sulfur bank mercury mine if it wasn't for my tribe, who stood up in the 1970s. And look at the process. It took us over 35 to 40 years to actually address the issue.
And
Now,
it's
again,
still not cleaned up.
right. And not only that, I looked at it as, the county looked at it as, this is only an Indian issue?
No.
How is it? When we all
No.
enjoy this lake, this is
Yeah.
all our lake.
Yeah.
And this is what I'm saying again about this tax.
Right.
Not one of the board of supervisors represented this county. Where's the county's money from the federal government for basically contaminating our lake and our
Well,
fish?
that's it.
Right.
And the EPA is sitting
Right.
on millions that they've
Yes.
never spent. So that is an issue I would love to see any
Right.
supervisor take
So I
up.
guess my thing is, how do you feel happy about that?
Yeah,
Going and
exactly.
talking
How
about
can
that?
you?
Am
Yeah.
I supposed to enjoy myself?
No.
Saying,
No.
no, we
You're
had...
dealing with serious issues,
Yes.
and I perfectly understand that.
Right.
But when you hear it all the time, every week,
Yeah.
sometimes people think it's a bit much.
Yeah.
So they.
Well, it's funny.
But I
act-
like the fact that you're focused.
Yeah, I actually had a question of this, a matter of fact, by the same person about, he was saying how you shouldn't be upset that when we play Cowboys and Indians, because, Karl May was a great writer in Germany, and he wrote he wrote about the Warrior Society, and
Yeah.
he never came to America.
Right.
And basically, matter of fact, Hitler even used Karl May's sayings in attacking people and saying,
Yeah.
let's treat them like the Americans did to the Indians. Unfair warfare against them. Now, this author's this guy's favorite writer, I guess. And I mentioned, I said, well, hey, that guy's never been to America. All of his information is secondhand that he's writing about Native people. They know nothing about the matriarch society.
Right.
And that's why it's so important to make Indians warriors, because then, all right, we have a right to get rid of these warriors.
Yeah,
And-
because they're a threat.
Yes, yes. And in the matriarch society, you don't have that.
No, it's a whole different way of thinking, and he
Right.
comes from a European perspective. So
Right. And again,
that
it's
explains a lot of that.
unfortunately, I would say I have to be that way because that's the truth.
Right.
If you want to skirt around the truth, then I'm not going to say anything. I'm
Exactly.
just tired of the fact that people don't have all the facts, but they want to make judgments, and that's what I've tried to do. A good example: every program I've done on my radio show, I made sure I had a backup. I give information of where I got the information.
Yeah, you're always well
and I
documented.
make sure that it's just not me, and I tell them, go and find it yourself.
Cool.
Don't
Right.
believe me.
I have
Right.
more callers.
Yeah,
so-
go ahead.
Yes.
No, I was just good.
Hello, you're on the air. Oh, maybe not. It's this one.
People
Hello,
bring
you're
up.
on the
I
air.
mean,
Hello.
hello, can you hear me?
Yeah. Now we
Hello?
can. Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay. Anything that you bring up that is Native American, what they call us, it's coming from a people that's almost all their people, 98% of their people have been slaughtered. All their land has been taken. All their resources have been taken. And we're supposed to feel great about that. Salute the flag and put our hand over our heart and, and feel happy. No, we're mad yet. We're still upset because every time they bring up the Middle Creek Restoration Project, they never mention the people that got slaughtered there and that was buried there. And then it was taken in the early 1900s by the Army Corps of Engineers and made dikes and dams out of them.
Right.
Where are these people? I never hear any of the people talking about them.
I
when they
know,
talk.
Clayton, I'm sorry. I don't want to interrupt you, but we need to keep our time on target.
okay.
And if you have a question for Jim, otherwise we're going to have to move
Jim,
on.
I mean, would you, consider that if, you get in there, the Middle Creek Restoration Project and finding those people before we do anything?
Line 2, if you could turn your radio down, please. It's not you, Clayton. It's the other line.
Again, Clayton, that is the real issue. See, again, how many people have questioned the Corps of Engineers who basically, this project can't go on without them? I mean, we need to bring them in and have some questions about them, about those remains, because they're in charge of any of the waterways. And again, we need to put those people who are responsible and ask the question there. A good example is there are many jobs that we can create in this county, recovering that. And there are other projects that we can do jointly together to make sure that we follow the law and make sure there are no burials left like that again in these landfills. And again, it's really hard because a good example, nobody knows the history of the Clear Lake Oaks Keys, where they destroyed one of the largest villages there to create the Keys. And they also use the mercury mine tailings to put in those dikes over there.
Yeah.
So again, see, here is, this whole county is contaminated, and a lot of people don't want to look at it. There's a website that you can go to called California Water, and you can go to another one called California Mining. And in Lake County alone, there are 70 mines.
Oh my goodness.
And all of those were more like the Ma and Pa style, but they all went into the drainage into this lake.
That's right. That's why our mercury is so
and
bad.
that's why, to me, we should be addressing, this county actually took a chemical warfare on the waters.
Yeah,
And instead of bringing back Tugalees and doing other mitigation.
Well, I think we need to get the EPA money and get it spent here. I think that should be a priority for all supervisors.
True. They owe this whole
They owe
county.
us, and they haven't been pulling through. And they say there's no solution, but there are solutions.
Yes,
so
there is.
we need to get that focus. Okay, we're going to move on. Thank you, Clayton.
All right.
All right, peace. Hello, you're on the air.
Hey, how you doing, Terry and Peter?
Hey.
Good. How are you? Ed?
That was quite a wildly inaccurate Eurocentric viewpoint phone call. But to getting on past that, a vote for you, James, is such a vote for roots, rights, and respect. You can't get more roots here than you.
Thank you.
We know, those of us that know your blood's been here, along with Clayton's, for tens of thousands of years. And I'd like to see you get compensated for basically the work you've been doing as a supervisor for years, bringing in the EPA fund site, what you've done with the juveniles, helping tribal people get together, and not even just here in this county, but other counties. And I'm going to take this next question answer off the air so others can come in, and I hope to see it embellished upon tonight at the town council meeting at the senior center in Lucerne about Measure L. I would really like to know what happens with my effluent. Where does this poop water go? What is Calpines doing with it? They're not using this for baseline fracking, are they? Are they pouring our poop right on the fire?
Well, it's actually been somewhat cleaned. It's not actual excrement that's going out. It's not pure sewer water. It is gray water, not gray water. Thank you.
I'd like to hear James Brown respond to that.
Okay.
And I sure hope you win, my friend.
Thank you very much.
Right.
Bye.
Again, I don't think it's a complete sewer going there, but I know it's being treated before it's sent out.
Yeah, but it's not like drinkable. It's not non-drinkable.
Right. Well, that's why I know this is somewhat sarcastic, but I kept thinking that's the water we should be sending down to Southern California.
There you go.
I mean, right now, basically, that's what the governor is doing to us.
But they are using it for fracking in
it
its
is.
truest form. I mean, it may not be looking for the natural gas. It's more for the geothermal, but it's still fracking.
Right.
Okay.
Right. And one of the other things I really wanted to mention is one of the things I'm about is human rights, because again, we all talk about civil rights, and what I've seen though is, to me, civil rights is a way of the government to divide us all up. Now we got the Native Americans against the Hispanics, or they always get our groups divided and fighting one another. And to me, that's the unity we need to bring back, as we're all humans. And again, to me, if we assert our human rights, then all our civil rights will come back for everyone. Like, look at the gay people here, how they've been treated. The marriage, look at this. I mean, all of these things, to me, that's a human right. And what they'll do is they'll divide us up and get us speaking against one another.
Divide and conquer.
Yes,
absolutely.
That's what has always been done.
Okay, I have a question for you.
Sure.
I've asked this question among the other candidates within your district and others. Is, based on your background and who you are, do you feel you personally have the capability, and in addition to that, do you think the other people that are on the board, if you are elected, will you be able to communicate and have them respect you and be able to convey your messages to the rest so they can have a different viewpoint before doing their voting on certain issues. I guess my question is, will you be able to communicate and deal with these individuals on the board?
Well, I've always been a good communicator, and again, it's up to those people how they're going to respond to that, and I think that's the real issue. Because a good example, I heard what you had asked Jeff earlier about, another board's personality, and to me,
that was one of our questions.
That is wrong. I mean, if you're going to sit there and you say, "Oh, we all work together," but this person is I don't know, let's say if he's a racist or he doesn't like someone, I mean, we should be saying, "Wait a minute, now we're all on this together here," and whether they're speaking for me, we have a responsibility as a board of directors to work together fairly with one another, and I am hoping that all of those other supervisors will be able to sit down with me and talk and address these issues. Because again, and I mentioned this before, look at the sheriff's debate. To me, it's getting a little stale. I'm hearing the same old. The only time you hear something different is when you bring up Public Law 280. And that's how the federal government and the law enforcement deals with the Indian tribes.
Yes.
And we just recently had a tragic death in Upper Lake because the 911 services will not go into the reservations without a sheriff's escort.
Oh, my God.
And that's the big issue that came up at that debate over at Running Creek. And basically, who has the authority over 911 services? Is it
Well,
our
they sure
sheriff?
don't have any problem going on the res when it's an illegal eviction.
Right.
Yeah, hello.
So unfortunately, that's one of the things that has happened.
Yeah.
And how do we let that occur? To me, is there going to be a lawsuit against this county over that by that tribe? We need to address those. So here's an example. When I was listening to the debates, I kept saying, all right, let's keep Sheriff Rivero in. Let's put Mitchell, is it Mitchell? No. Martin as the second in command.
Yes, since there's a vacancy there now.
And let's put the other Chalk ahead of organizing the Indian tribal.
Oh, they're police. Yeah, that's
police.
a good idea. They need some authority.
And that's the first thing I thought about. But then I realized with their personalities, they're not going to work.
No, they'll never work.
They don't care. They're not going to work together.
Let me run back to the phones here. Hello, you're on the air.
Hey, good morning.
Morning.
Hey, hi, Jim.
Good morning.
Hi.
Hey, listen, I just want to, make a quick comment here, and that is, I think the sulfur baked mine issue is probably at the top of the list, and all I want to, do is show my support because this is something people don't realize what kind of a environmental disaster this is.
Yes.
That's just every day is pouring thousands of gallons of mercury-laden water into the lake, and I just want to say, you go, Jim. You're the man, and I hope to see you as supervisor.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Hello, you're on the air.
Hello, hey Jim.
Hi.
This is Cheryl. I'm just put out to Milos, my dance partner there, that the Jews should not try and remember what Hitler did too.
Yeah.
And I'm just tired of hearing from my white friends, like when are these guys going to stop complaining? Because I don't get that feeling that Milos gets, and you put yourself in another one's shoes, and then I think, what can we all do to apologize?
Right.
And then it comes to, this is it, we should elect you, and, you should have been running this place all along. All we did is mess it up.
Okay, I have a question that kind of bounces off that. A lot of people have come to me with feedback about your candidacy, and they're worried that it's going to be just specifically tribal oriented.
All right. Yeah.
What kind of issues do you feel faces the county in your district that would appeal to all of your voters?
Well, again,
I'm sorry, Cheryl. Is that okay if I?
I'm all good.
Okay. Thank you.
Again, we have a lot of issues. It's just that to me, we've been separated that way. In other words, so that's why most of my efforts had to come from the Native community, but every one of them still addresses a county issue. And I think that's where most people are going to understand. Now, a good example, the wine industry. I'm against what basically the wine industry has had a free hand to do whatever they want to in this county. And so to me, one of my big issues is we need a microbiologist. This county needs an expert on water. That way we know the chemicals. We know every industry, what they're polluting. Right now, we just have people guessing.
Hydrologist,
and we don't
yeah.
have experts.
True.
Like, so those are the types of people that I would bring in to help address this problem.
Right.
And also, to me, look at the marijuana issue. I support it. Basically, I'm no on in. And,
Right.
and although I'm alcohol and drug free, I, as a native person, have continued to use traditional medicines. I mean, I haven't bought a cough drop or a cough syrup for the past 30 years because we have that medicine here.
Thank you.
There's other medicines like that in this county. And I see the grape industry or wine industry coming in, tearing down all those resources.
Oh my
for us.
goodness! And the wildlife that there's.
Yes.
We've recently had a mountain lion come through and kill our goats. You
Oh,
know,
wow,
and
yeah.
it's because this huge development down there between Kitts Corner and Kelseyville is just driving all the animals towards the lake, and
Right.
it's causing more problems. And we've got to look at that. And I appreciate the fact.
Well,
you're
you know, one
willing
of the
to.
things I hope people understand is, to me, if they think I'm only dealing with Indian issues, if you're in this county, Indian issues are a county issue.
Absolutely. I agree.
You know, and I think that's why we need to address it and bring them forward to unite our government.
Okay. Good deal. Thank you, Cheryl.
Can I say one more little thing?
Yes, ma'am.
Just that, just the same way that, like, we killed the buffaloes just to kill, your people. And I'm just tired of trusting these dudes because they break treaties.
Absolutely.
And they never stop.
Okay.
So, okay.
Thank you,
Good
my
luck, Tim.
sister. Have a good day.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Well, one of the other things I've talked about too is, again, economic development. We talk about ecotourism and all these agribusiness tourism. Well, what's real ironic about this county is we're one of the oldest counties in terms of the lake itself and of civilization. My tribe in the 2006 EPA project, and Dr. Parker was the one who was the archaeologist on the job, now discovered a spear point that dates our tribe 26,000 years. And there were other spear points that went 14,000 years.
That's amazing.
And yet, it's almost like, now, look at the tourists that we can draw to this county if we had a state-of-the-art Indian-run museum and cultural center.
Exactly.
I mean, I was even talking about, why don't we have these tours to the islands to talk about the village sites that were there, to help preserve it and make more people aware. And something maybe like what John Natty did on Rattlesnake Island wouldn't have happened because the public would have been more educated about it and understanding it and a part of it. To me, that should have been the #1 bird sanctuary actually in this county because of all the birds alone that used to nest. Now they're not nesting there anymore. So anyway, there's a lot of things there. A good example is, did you know Indian reservations could actually set up a tax-free zone?
We do.
We can create businesses there.
They're being very
Tax-free.
underutilized for
Yes.
what's available
Absolutely.
to
And
them,
that's
yeah.
another way I think that we can help advance this county.
Sure, and create jobs and
Yes.
everything. Sure.
So there's a lot more things.
So
that-
you would build a cooperative dialogue between the county and the
Yes.
tribal people. I
Yeah.
think that's a great idea. We got one more call here. Hello, you're on the air.
Yes, thank you. And I just want to add just a blurb, and I respect Jim and Gail, and I listen a lot. I just don't call a lot. And when Jim contributes on Glenn Goodman's show, he has quoted from books he's reading, and I just wanted to remind everyone how scholarly and savvy Jim is. He knows the world picture. He knows the big picture,
Right. Okay, good. Thank you very
not
much.
just about Lake County.
All right. Thank you.
Okay,
Take care. Bye.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So let's take the last few minutes. And
Okay.
Peter, if you have anything else you want to squeeze in, because we're almost done. No more calls, please. Thank you.
No, I like your. I guess purposely or not purposely, I didn't really address the economic issues that much because you're doing so well in your conversation here.
Right.
But I agree that it's nice to see a different idea come across the table here. And unfortunately, fortunately because of my background, I understand that there's a lot of tax incentives that are available through the tribes, the tribal units in and your own area, and it's a shame that has not been taken advantage of in the past. And I think our county is too hung up on the wine industry. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but it's hung up on that. And there's, I was going to ask Jeff this, and I totally spaced it out. Is that a lot of people want big box stores.
Right.
They think that's the godsend to our community. What is your feeling on that?
No, I prefer the ma and pa myself, and I've seen that change. And the real problem, of course, is we have so much poor poor people in our county that they're going to still access Walmart and things like that, because I actually lived in this county when Safeway was actually where the City Hall is in Clear Lake. That was actually a Safeway store before it was City Hall. And what the native people and the poor people in this county used to realize, every 1st and 15th of the month, guess what the stores did? They raised their prices up.
Yeah.
Because that's when the poor people got paid.
Right.
So there's a lot of people that don't understand those dynamics. And that's why there's a lot of people I talk to, they'll still go to Walmart because they get the cheapest amount for their family. And whether I don't like Walmart at all either, but that's the reality of things.
So in the economic base then, besides the tax incentives that might potentially be available, do you have any ideas or plans on your own that would help create cottage industries or small business opportunities here in Lake County?
Well, again, there's so much that we can do. I know there are a lot of native people that also could join in on this. And
Of
for
course.
example, every time I go to the Chamber of Commerce, is always the first people thing asked is where do we get Native American crafts? There's no outlet here for that. And so that's just one example. But to me, the cottage industry, the businesses are really important to this community. To me, they make it a very country place instead of the city place, and that's what I would rather prefer. To me, Highway 20 is a very important thoroughway in District 3. We're the largest district. The National Forest is a part of it. I really believe that our townships along the area can show the positive things of this county and and we need businesses to come along that corridor.
Right.
I really think a good example, a museum would probably go good in Lucerne, things like that. So there's a lot of ideas I have. The other thing, a good example, I think we should savor what we have of the wine industry that's here. But at the same time, if we really want to do more, why don't we create our own state-of-the-art wine crushing
Absolutely correct.
Yeah, so we don't have to ship it out.
Yeah, instead of shipping it out like Thompson does. He
Right.
ships it out.
And maybe a
Absolutely.
moratorium on expanding more and just
And all the wines
be happy
here
with what we
be
have.
crushed in this county,
Right on.
So those are I think some practical things that I think the citizens would really understand and
point.
support.
Cool.
Points.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we're pretty much finished
time.
up here. Yeah, are you okay, Pete? You
Yeah.
got your points made?
Yeah,
You
I'm fine.
need-
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us, Jim.
Okay,
It was
you're
really
welcome.
fun, and it was exactly what I expected.
Okay.
You're very knowledgeable, and we do appreciate that. So before.